It appears that the current cast of Real Housewives of Atlanta Husbands decided to honor the memory of Gregg Leakes in a special way. What did they do? Well, I have some new information that may answer that question and more right after this. What's up, kinfolk, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, do me a favor and subscribe. And if you already are subscribed, do me a favor and get notified, so you'll know whenever I upload new videos to the channel. Alright, kinfolk, come on into the house. We have a lot to talk about. And it all centers around what appears to be a very special tribute from the current cast of husbands on the Real Housewives of Atlanta, honoring the life and memory of Gregg Leakes. How so? Well, I have some new information that may answer that question and more. And here it goes. Industry insiders are all talking about the great tribute from the Real Housewives of Atlanta husbands on part 3 of the reunion. Sources say that the current group of husbands made an alleged pact to honor Gregg Leakes' memory and impact on the show by always presenting a positive brotherhood image. A source close to production alleges that the idea actually came from Ralph, who is a big supporter of black men bonding. Sources say that allegedly the network wanted to phase the husbands back into the fold of things. However, the men allegedly banded together and only agreed to the new approach if promises were made by production to keep their images organic and insightful. So, did the new approach work? Well, industry insiders say yes. There was only one incident where allegedly things didn't go over as smooth as promised. Sources believe that this mishap may have happened on the Jamaica trip when Ross, and with him speaking out against the treatment of his wife from the ladies and allegedly production. However, things quickly blew over, and sources close to the situation say that Ross was back to enjoying his trip as if nothing even happened. Sources close to production say it was really important to the husbands that they present an image Gregg would be proud of. It's not easy seeing your wife constantly critiqued and ganged up on national television, said the source. And one thing about Gregg, he always handled the pressure with style and grace and never backed down from defending or supporting Nene. Now, kinfolk, when I was first getting wind of this alleged pact that the current Housewives of Atlanta husbands made going into season 14 of the show, I can honestly see this rumor as being true, because it is so evident the impact that Gregg had on the show. And it's also evident on how Gregg was really the male presence who transformed the way the house husbands all appeared on their wives' respected housewife franchises. So, to see and knowing that Gregg is no longer with us, but seeing his great impact and the great things he did to present a strong, positive male image, it was no surprise to me that allegedly this current cast of Housewives of Atlanta husbands wanted to do the same. They wanted to continue to push an image of black men who were not only successful, who were not only strong father figures, but who were also in tune to the emotional side of being a husband and a father. Also in tune to their emotional and mental health. Something that I believe that Gregg was a big proponent of. Now, kinfolk, the next thing about this alleged pact that I could see as being true is this. You know, allegedly this whole idea was brought up by Ralph to make sure that going forward this season that the men would get a fair edit that showed how organic their lives was and how insightful that things in their relationship was with their wives. And if this rumor is to be true, then I could definitely see Ralph being the spearhead of all of this, because last season Ralph caught a lot of heat for the way that he was handling Drew. And I'll be perfectly honest with you. It came off as if Ralph was being very manipulative, very narcissistic, and downright just very oblivious to the needs and the emotional strain that his actions were constantly putting on his wife and their marriage. So going into this season, I could see Ralph potentially saying, you know, what you all saw last season, the bad times, were only maybe even just 5% of our actual lives. And the times when you see me on television where you probably thought, hey Ralph, I probably shouldn't have said that. Oh yeah, you're right, I probably shouldn't have done that. That may have been just a slip up in their marriage that happens probably once in every blue moon. So I could see Ralph being the person in the front of the pack saying, hey, we definitely have to make sure that if they're going to incorporate us back into our wives' lives, then we have to do so in an organic and insightful way that just doesn't paint us as the bad guys or the guys who may be holding them back. And you can kind of tell that may have been the conversation that the guys had with production, because from the beginning of the season until the end, Ralph's image did a complete 180. It was completely different from what we saw at the beginning of this season, at the end of last season as well. At the beginning of this season, we saw Ralph pretty much seemingly to fall back into his old same habits of just throwing his wife's feelings to the side, not giving Drew enough time and space to really express herself, not giving her that safe space to where she could be vulnerable with her emotions, and to always thinking he was right and she was wrong. And so then, by the time the season progressed, but it was definitely around the Jamaica trip, we saw a different Ralph. We saw a Ralph who was supporting and loving to his wife. And we also saw a Ralph who was willing to step up and be a father figure in his stepson's life. And then we went on to see Ralph and how he's writing this book about how to effectively blend a blended family together from a male perspective. And it really made everyone look at Ralph in a different way. Actually, by the end of the season, most women, and definitely men, were defending Ralph more than they were defending Drew. So we can kind of see now that if you are to believe this rumor, and it's kind of looking like there could be some truth into it, because we see how producers just didn't really focus on giving the husbands a bad edit, which is something that's really refreshing and something that was really needed this season moving forward. Now, I would also say this, kinfolk. You know, it is undeniable the influence that Gregg had on the Real Housewives of Atlanta franchise. Up until the point when Gregg debuted on Real Housewives of Atlanta, all the husbands of the housewives always seemed as if they were doing something nefarious to their wives, or as if they had a secret or something, whether it was infidelity, whether it was money in their jobs, in their careers. It was always something very seedy and dark about their relationship with their husbands. Like they're doing something, we don't quite know what it is. But with Gregg, for the first time on these Housewives franchise, we saw a person who just completely loved his wife. It was almost reminiscent of Alex on Real Housewives of New York, and I forgot her husband's name, but they kind of had that same bond. However, all the ladies thought that their bond was kind of weird. However, we had Gregg almost having the same type of relationship with Nene, but it was the way he went about his relationship and his marriage with Nene in a very loving way that made everyone really realize that he is nothing like Alex's husband. And not to say Alex's husband was a bad person. So we definitely saw a great impact that Gregg had on this show. And so it brings me to the last thing of moving forward with the husbands being incorporated more on the show. And it's this. We have seen the success of incorporating the husbands on these women-based reality television shows. Most recently with the Love and Marriage Huntsville franchises, the Love and Marriage DC franchises, and other franchises as well. How important it is to really showcase the husbands. Something the ladies on Potomac have been doing, but they haven't been doing to great lengths. And I'm willing to believe we're going to start seeing them showcase more of their husbands this season as well. And what the husbands do is they really do bring our the ladies and the women on this show back to a more relatable level. Because it's nothing like being able to have a conversation, to fuss and fight and carry on drama with your friend groups. But when you come back home to your spouse, it's a whole different argument. It's a whole different conversation. And oftentimes, it's in those moments we get to see who these ladies really are. And get to see them being vulnerable and them being real and being their authentic selves. A lot of times, which they refuse to do when they're with the other ladies. So I could definitely see this approach continuing on next season. And I can also see, if not Ref, definitely, if not Ref, then I could definitely see any of the other men taking a role and leading the other men on the Housewives. But to be honest, I really do see Todd taking on that role if Ref doesn't. Because right now, as crazy as it may seem, Todd is the senior house husband of Real Housewives of Atlanta. Which is a good thing, because we see Todd all the time supporting Kandi, being there for Kandi, and being that type of Renaissance man that we feel that black men are now becoming to be. Men who are not only men who are not only strong towers and a strong foundation for their families, but men who are also in tune to their emotional and mental health. Men who also want to communicate and find solutions instead of pushing things to a side. And honestly, I think this new group of men are the perfect example of that. So more of them on the show is definitely going to increase ratings, and it's going to continue to have fans tuning in week after week. But Kinfolk, I want to know what you think. Do you think on this season of Real Housewives of Atlanta, do you think the men did a great job of honoring Gregg's life by being, open and being honest about the things they struggle with, but also by promoting and protecting the strong black male image for not only his wife, but also his family? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Alright, Kinfolk, as always, if you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. And I'll see you guys over on the next one. Peace.